Welcome to the Pitcher Podcast, where the conversation is free flow, everything is on the house, and all we ask for in return is for you not to give us 1-star reviews. I'm Cody.
And I'm Ian.
And this is our 10th episode, so we thought it would be fun to reflect a bit on the past few months of podcasting together.
Cue celebration noises.
Yay!
Well, I had a lot of applause as well.
Yeah.
Applause. So when we start our 10th episode off with a new piece of, I guess, culture in a culture corner, which we're going to be branching into art this time. Mm-hmm. I don't know how we're going to really talk about it. But I guess
just Google it.
Cody's one is better. It's easier to describe.
It's better than Ian's art.
Oh yeah.
Dude, you talk about yours.
Mine first?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who know me, I'm a big fan of this American artist called Edward Hopper. Mm-hmm. He does a lot of stuff in realism. Mm-hmm. And the piece that I chose is Office in a Small City, and specifically Cody Chicago. What does that mean?
You weren't meant to read off that. That was my own notes for something I was going to be talking about.
Yeah, because I'm looking at Cody's notes right now, and he typed something, so I thought he wanted me to say
just
something.
Just keep talking about Hopper.
Okay, Office in a Small Space, in a Small City. So essentially, the painting is you're looking into an office building, and it's just a man by himself on a desk, and then the city landscape is very empty. And I think that's follows a lot of his trends and his themes in his paintings, where it talks about a lot of modern loneliness.
Yeah.
And then how that's encapsulated in a painting, he does it really well. And I really like his style. I like realism as an art movement, I guess. I'm not too fond, or I just don't know how to appreciate more abstract stuff.
Right. No, me neither.
So I love the details.
Yeah, for sure. There's been a lot of New York Times or New Yorker or these.
I saw one recently.
Yeah.
It was the most pretentious article I've ever read.
I always get clickbaited into the title because it sounds so cultured and intellectual and stuff, but I can only make it a couple paragraphs in. But it's about how there's been this resurgence of Hopper enthusiasts are really looking at a lot of Hopper's art in light of
so relevant.
Yeah, so quarantine relevant. And American isolationism and all this other stuff. But the reason I wrote on my notes Cody Chicago is because one of Ian's favorite paintings for a while has been Nighthawks or Nighthawk, I don't know which one, by Hopper, and it actually is placed in the Art Institute of Chicago. And so with my university being in the Chicago area, we would get free access to go into the Art Institute, and it would be really fun because I would often walk past that Nighthawks piece and just think of Ian and think of all my friends and stuff, especially when I was really lonely at university and everything.
Okay.
But,
for your piece of art.
For my piece, it's not fine art or a painting or anything, but I actually saw this my freshman year of university in the Art Institute of Chicago as well. But the piece is called A Lot of Sorrow, and it's by this artist called Ragnar Kjartansson. And essentially what it is it's this band called The Nationals. Or maybe it's actually The National or something. People don't at me. But I think it's called Sorrow. It's one of their songs. It's a 3 or 4 minute song called Sorrow. And then essentially this is held in with a live audience and everything in the MoMA in New York, but they play this song over and over again for 6.5 hours.
Oh, there's an audience to it?
Yeah. So there's people coming in and then leaving and stuff too, but it's this one band, and they play this song live for 6.5 hours. And I think it was a fundraiser or something. But it's really interesting. And so essentially how it's shown at art museums and stuff now, it's there's just a room and they play the film from start to finish. Yeah, and it normally takes the entire day that the art museum is open. So the longest I stayed was 3.5 hours in it. Yeah. But it's really trippy because it just over time you can see the musicians start to become fatigued and stuff and just tired and drowsy and stuff, and it just kind of blends into this one kind of weird melodic thing.
Yeah.
But there's actually I think the video isn't free online, or I don't think you can access it, but you can actually access the audio online. So if you want to check it out.
You want to spell out the artist's name? For people who want to search it up. I don't know people know how to spell Kjartan.
Yeah. So you can actually just search up like A Lot of Sorrow, the National or the Nationals. But then if you want to look at the actual artist, it's Ragnar. So Ragnar. And then I'm guessing this is how to say it, but Kjartansson, which is Kjartansson.
Very nice, very nice.
But that's my piece. And then weekly catch up. You want to start with yours?
Yeah. Is this like 2 weeks or a week ahead?
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I'm probably at this point 4 weeks into my current internship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm currently like interning in a firm or a company that will not be named. I guess dealing with like finance and banking.
Yeah.
Which is definitely something complete like left field for me because like I come from like a very legal heavy background.
Yeah.
So I did like come into the experience with a very open mind as to like what to expect, the people around, and I'm pleased to say I'm enjoying it quite a bit right now.
Yeah.
The environment within the company was great. Making some friends, making connections, and like the work itself is very like intellectually stimulating.
Yeah.
Apart from like certain days where I'm just like jam packed with like like e-learning.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate those.
Yeah,
like,
you have a lot of it.
Essentially, like we have these kind of like lectures or classes where from like 1:30 to 5, it's like 3.5 hours of just you sitting by the computer, and then we have to like all the interns have to scramble into the pantry because we didn't want to like interrupt because we have to participate here and there.
Right.
Like, they have us like turn on our mics, but then people will never speak. They always type, and then the moderator is always like, yeah, it'll be great if, you guys could stop typing and, speak on the mic. I'll just make things much quicker. And then no one says anything, and someone just types.
Uh-huh.
And then it's so awkward because, like, he'll ask a question, and then you just see, like, blah, blah, blah is typing, blah, blah, blah is typing. And then he's like, okay, whatever. Like, for example, I was like, Ian, I see you're typing. And then it just stops. And no one replies. And then once someone replies, everyone's just, like, following suit.
Right.
Because what he always does is, like, he wants the interaction, like, through the mic.
Okay.
But like if he asks like a certain question and I reply by text, he's like, okay, Ian, why don't you turn on your mic and explain your answer?
Right.
And he does that so many times to the point where people are like kind of discouraged.
Yeah, of course.
The guy happens to always like draw on people's names. Like the first day, I guess he remembered me from my introductions.
Yeah.
And the whole day it was like, so this traditional banking model, we'll name it Ian's Bank.
Yeah.
And he'll just keep saying Ian's Bank, and it always pricks up my ears, and I was like, oh, do I have to answer a question again?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I don't really like this virtual aspect. I really rather go into like a classroom and
of course.
get that face to face. But with everything going on, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, for sure.
And also like they jam a lot of like graduate program stuff into the internship this year.
Oh, okay.
So like this mandatory e-learning, they jammed like a lot more than what was previously like done in the previous years, and they've also like chucked over like a internship project that we have to do for 8 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So like we have to like gather as our group, like our batchmates, I guess, and then do like an hour presentation critiquing the entire company's division.
Yeah.
And it's super broad, and it's just like we're doing the job of like a head or whatever.
Right.
So we're just basically doing like laborious like research, and then like I don't know. But I guess it'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. We had one of those projects, like those internship long projects for my summer internship last year. And it was about like running a new like corporate social responsibility or something initiative for the company. But one, there was just like weird competitive vibes because everyone was just like
trying to do their best.
Exactly. And like there's like who's gonna take up the mantle of being a leader in your like little small group like prep sessions and stuff. So everyone's kind of like, oh, that's a really good deal.
But
but also, or like, let me just piggyback off that. Or, like,
if someone said that to me, I get so pissed.
Love the enthusiasm. Here's what I was thinking.
You're slightly wrong on this one note, and it just changes it entirely. It's just like, oh my god.
Right. And then also, like, there were some people who at the end of it, like, you presented it to a bunch of staff and then the entire like 100-person intern cohort, and then there were some people that just like, I don't know, maybe had bad social awareness, but there was like a judging panel and everything of full-time staff. And then some people would just like critique the company so strongly in front of like full-time staff. And
as part of their presentation.
Yeah. As part of the presentation, it would just get really awkward and stuff.
Just raw honesty right there.
Yeah. But anyways, I guess my weekly catch up is we got permission from Rachel right before we talked about this. I was going to originally talk about going to the Hong Kong Art Museum last week, which is really nice.
Talk about both. Just
okay.
Like glance over it really quickly.
Okay, Hong Kong Art Museum is really, really nice for all of our Hong Kong friends. It's free, and they only built it like
it's
last
free?
year. Yeah. Or at least the day I went was free. I think it's free all the time. But they have a really nice collection of like old Hong Kong art and old Hong Kong like collections and a lot of art made by like Hong Kong people and local Hong Kong voices, which is really nice. But then they also have a really nice modern art section and stuff too. And then it has really pretty views of the harbor. So check it out.
I do want to go.
Yeah.
Because like I didn't really realize there was an art museum to begin with until the renovations started.
Yeah.
Apparently the old one was kind of shit, so
yeah, it was like due for renovation. But it's like pretty much attached to K11 in TST for all of our Hong Kong people listening to.
It's basically a mall.
Yeah. A mall for all of our non-Hong Kong people. But the main thing I wanted to talk about was Ian, Michael, Rachel, and I went to the beach the other day, and we parked on like metered street side parking. And when we got out, Rachel was very curious about like learning how to drive and road rules and stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and then Rachel started asking Ian about how you park on the street, and she was just I don't even know how to fully talk about it, but she was asking how the meter like signifies or how you can tell which parking spot you're paying for. With just this meter, like, can't you be paying for like anyone's spot on the street? And then as she kept asking these questions, it slowly dawned on us that Rachel doesn't know what street parking is and has never had to use a parking meter before in her life.
Hey, we love her like brooding like curiosity.
Yeah. We love you, Rachel. We love you so much. But then
Very innocent.
Yeah, Ian and I just started joking and whispering to each other, like we're just imitating Rachel, like, oh, so where's the button that you press to have like the little man come out and drive your car away, like the valet parking,
the mini chauffeur,
or where's the button you push
put
for
your credit card.
So that was really funny, but we love you so much, Rachel.
I just realized me saying like laughing about putting your credit card in like doesn't really apply to anywhere but Hong Kong. Everywhere else, you actually do you use a credit card?
I think in the U.S., yeah.
So essentially, in Hong Kong, we have these like very like useful cards.
Yeah.
That you use to like pay for a lot of like basic things.
Yeah. They're kind of like subway cards and stuff. You can use them to pay for like a bunch of different things. But anyways, getting into our main topic, it's crazy to think that we have been doing this for like over 2 months, and this is like our 10th episode and everything. But we thought it would
10
be fun.
weeks.
I know, it's crazy.
It's 10 weeks.
And so we just thought it would be fun to kind of like reflect a bit on it. But one of the main things that I like jumping into kind of reflecting on it, wanted to hear kind of your thoughts on, Ian, is like essentially kind of like what have kind of been some of the biggest difficulties that like you have run into or that it's kind of like stirred up in your mind, essentially like starting a podcast.
When it came to the podcast.
Yeah.
I guess the first big one that came to mind was regarding like scheduling. Now that I started my internship, because I don't really have like a lot of time for recording, and then it's hard to really match our schedules because Cody's also a very busy guy. Not gonna get into the details, but yeah, there's a lot of like scheduling problems, and then like I get really tired, so it's really hard to fit it into like weekdays as well. But I'm always willing to like try and like do it like after work if that's ever like an option. But either way, scheduling I thought was like I thought before, prospectively, that scheduling was gonna be hard.
Yeah,
and oh my god.
Getting a bit nervous, are you?
No, it was just like stuck in my throat. Basically,
your foot is trembling.
I'm shaking with fear. I was drinking a bit of ginger ale, and I just can't really do sweet stuff because it builds like there's a lot of like saliva built up. Yeah. They kind of get stuck in my throat. Yeah. But back to where what was I talking about? Scheduling. Yeah. Scheduling was definitely the biggest thing. Like today we have like like an hour and a half
Yeah.
slot that we could be able to record even when it's like a public holiday.
Yeah.
So obviously not as like free as I used to be, where
Yeah.
I have the whole entire week to plan, or like the entire week to choose a day just
Yeah, of
randomly
course,
or a
of
time
course.
slot. So that was my biggest worry. But I think like based on how we did it previously and like uploading a bunch of episodes or like recording a bunch of episodes helps us like create this like minuscule backlog, but
Yeah.
a backlog like nonetheless. And then that really helped us last week because we weren't able to record last week.
Yeah.
So our backlog of episodes really helped us out. And I think since we both just like really enjoy doing this and really like having this as a thing or like a side project,
Yeah.
I think our passions
Yeah.
are definitely gonna like lead us forward into continuing with this podcast.
Yeah.
So in that respect, like our fire, our passion for this project, like I don't think it will. I never thought about it like diminishing. Like,
Yeah.
I knew we're gonna carry this on like one way or another. Like even when Cody's gonna be like in New York, I'm still like super down to do like Zoom podcasts, and yeah, I didn't really have too many worries or fears apart from the scheduling problem.
Yeah, for sure. Something I think that's quite notable about Ian, especially for all the ladies out there, I'm just going to be your hype man right now, is that Ian is someone who will put in like a lot of work, but not necessarily like want or seek credit for it, or even like acknowledge that he is putting in work. So Ian's been super helpful with like making himself free on a lot of days, or also just like on days that I am also free, like making the extra step to like come out to near kind of like where I live or where we have like an open space to record, because we don't live super close in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So that's something that has like definitely helped with our
you're making me
podcast and stuff. But for anyone out there,
very flattering. Thank you.
I am Ian's hype man. But yeah, I think I would agree with you, like especially with like, you know, just like schedules and stuff, like finding a time where we can one, like be together and prep together and stuff, but also finding like a space that will be quiet and like have good like recording capabilities and not be like disturbed or something is actually like harder than it might seem at first.
Because for the episode before this, I'm guessing, which is episode 9,
Yeah.
we're basically recording in like my car.
Yeah.
And then like we couldn't turn off the car because there were like noises outside.
Yeah.
And then we had to roll down the windows and it was just a bit too noisy.
Yeah.
And it got like really, really hot in the car. So I had to turn on the car, like blast the AC and then turn it down. But either way, there's going to be like this weird buzzing sound in the background. So we had to be like extra loud.
Yeah, we
like
just had to be talking
over
loud.
talk over the aircon, which was just like, it wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
But we gotta do what we gotta do sometimes. You know?
Yeah, for sure. I think that also, like, I'm gonna get into a bit kind of, actually, let's just jump into it now. Like, things that this podcast has, like, made you learn or that you've had to learn as a result of this podcast and stuff. And I think just trailing off of what you said, or to piggyback off of what you
don't
said.
Say that. That's really good, but
Ian's holding a knife to my throat right now. But it's made me learn to be like okay with imperfections and stuff,
Yeah.
or like putting out a product that you know could have been better and stuff. But like, yeah, especially just like with episode 9 and stuff, or when we've forgotten to like turn off the AC in the room that we're in, and there's like a little like hum in the back, or like there's something that I really wanted to mention in this episode and I only remember it like after we've finished recording. Like just learning to be okay with the product that you put out not being like 100% or something, and I think that's like
it's more about the quality of the content.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I do see that in you, because like to begin with, we like Cody was really like hesitant on using like our phones.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, we need to get this mic, we need to get these like recording pieces of recording equipment. But then I was just like, let's just try this out.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, like as long as it doesn't sound like shit, like
for sure.
fair enough. Like I guess you guys want to listen to this because of what we like say or joke about, not about how crisp the audio is supposed to be.
Yeah, for sure. I think another thing that it's made me learn to do is like get more comfortable with like talking for extended periods of time, or just kind of like being more comfortable also hearing my own voice and stuff too. I think a lot of people have that fear of like, or just that cringe factor of like hearing their voice in recording, but both Ian and I have to listen to the recordings after it and like figure out where we need to like bleep something out, or like Ian has to like splice in audio or like the intro and outro and stuff sometimes. So you just have to like spend a lot of time hearing your own voice. But I remember we were recording with Rachel once, and then for her episode, and then after it we started just playing it, and she's like, no, stop, I can't do this, like I can't hear my own voice. And
same with Michael. I don't know if he's heard his episode yet.
Michael still might not have listened to his episode yet.
Like I get that still, like even with listening to like my voice when I was like editing, I still never get used to it. Like when my dad loves doing this, like we'll be like either in the living room or in the car, and it would just like blast my podcast, my podcast. And I was like, Dad, please, like I've heard this way too many times. It's my own goddamn voice. I don't want to hear it. Yeah. He's like, okay, fine.
Do you actually say that?
I don't want to listen to my own voice in the car when I'm in the car. It's a bit. Ugh.
Yeah, for sure. There was one day that I was at home and my mom was also at home, and then I just hear a voice speaking really, really loud, and then I listen, and it's my voice, and it's me and Ian talking, and she's playing our podcast while she showers, because she takes long showers and listens to podcasts, but it was so loud that, like, I could hear it, so I just had to go for, like, a walk that night, because, like, I was just sitting in my room doing my own work and hearing my own voice and stuff.
You just hear, welcome to the Picture Podcast.
Yeah.
You just leave.
Yeah. I always wonder for, like, actors or, like, really famous podcasters and stuff who just have their own like face and character and like voice out there all the time, if they are still self-conscious about it at all, or like actors watching their own movies and stuff too, if they ever cringe a bit.
But like if you're a successful actor, I feel like you need like a bit of narcissism.
Yeah.
You need that amount of like self-confidence to be able to put yourself out and just be like really good.
You need that Michael level of self. We love you, Michael. We love you.
That's for that.
Oh, sorry. I hope you're okay with me saying that. We love you, Michael.
Sorry, we didn't mean that.
Your self-confidence is really, really good. It's such a good
what did he say? I don't agree with that. We're not gonna break into that like inside joke. That's a bit too sensitive.
That's a bit grim.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think another thing that it's made me learn to do is like just be better about kind of like organizing thoughts and like various like, I don't know, long-term thoughts or ideas or like philosophies that I've had, and like talking with Ian and making those into like cohesive themes or semi-cohesive themes for every episode. Because I mean, obviously like you listening know that like we theme each episode based on something, and it's actually harder than one might think to like come up with what those themes are, and if like both Ian and I have enough to like contribute or talk about for each one,
because we also get a bit too silly sometimes.
Like
the prepping process is not very extensive. It's just us having lunch and then just like delaying it as much as possible and realizing shit, we really need to record, and then it's like, oh, we'll just do something about mistakes, and it's like that's a really good one.
There's been sessions before where Ian's come to my place and we've gotten lunch and just talked, and like 3 hours later we still hadn't come up with a theme, and we only had like an hour and a half left or like an hour left to record. So we're like, oh no, and then I get really like anxious and antsy, and then I just get really silly, and then Ian's like, Cody, no, we need to like actually do this right now.
I think prepping themes is like a really hard thing, because we want to make it like relevant in the sense where like people can relate to it, but we also want to, I don't know if we want to make it too topical with a lot of things that goes on. Because we want it to be like more of like a casual conversation. There's no need to like tie too many like dark or heavy themes into it.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see how we like evolved from here.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like balancing that whole thing of like having a meaningful conversation, but also not having it be super dry and like being engaging and like funny and stuff too. Because like Ian and our friend group, we can talk about like the most random of things that's not necessarily like the most meaningful or like it's just like kind of a tough line to balance sometimes, and so that's something that like I think the both of us have had to like grow in. And stuff.
Also in the future, like I was thinking about how we can branch away from only talking about ourselves, and the way that like it's easy to draw on experiences that we had or like stuff that we think about, but I wonder like in the future if there is enough content for us to talk about when it's only about ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. So that is why, if you have any comments or suggestions,
please give us any comments or suggestions.
Please let us know. But yeah, I also was kind of wondering.
Auditory mukbang.
Yeah, auditory mukbang. Ian is going to be the one to do that.
Chew it with your mouth open.
Do you want to give him a little sample right now? Yummy. I love that. I love that so much. I was also kind of like reflecting on just like the past 2 or 3 months of doing a podcast together and like the different ways that for me it's like grown my friendship with you.
Yeah.
Or like grown my mutual understanding with you and stuff like that. So I think for me, like it's just given me the space to go not necessarily deeper, because I think we have deep conversations about our own lives and stuff, like way before this on like a personal level. But I think maybe like getting a bit more like serious or like reflective on certain things that are like happening in our lives. So it's not like, oh, I had something super exciting happen, or I had something super like sad happen or funny happen that I want to tell Ian, but it's like
the nuances.
Yeah, exactly. Like here's something that has happened to the both of us, and like how are you like processing that, or like how do you think that's gonna like affect you down the line or something, which is something that like is kind of a tough spot to do in like just casual conversation too. So yeah, what do you think?
I agree.
I agree. Well said.
My to piggyback off that, my contribution was saying nuances.
Yeah.
I get that. Like I have really nothing to add on that respect.
Yeah.
But looking at our notes as I'm speaking, trying to buy a little bit of time. Oh,
I'm highlighting something for you to talk about.
Are you? But advice for friends who want to start podcasting.
Yeah. I've heard of a couple people in our social circles, or like friends of friends, who have wanted to, like, in light of quarantine and isolation and stuff, just like do different like passion projects and stuff. And one of those is like podcasts for people.
Oh, I did know what I was like. I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
What I was trying to say. Like, I do feel like a sense of pride, because like I'm a very like objective oriented person, and I like find a lot of value in like something that like comes out of like our hard work as being something like relatively substantive. And I think like I was like really glad like reflecting upon like doing this podcast and like actually committing to it, and then actually seeing this like the fruits of our labor. Even though like, okay guys, please like recommend this podcast to other people. Stream numbers are definitely dropping, but it's fine. We don't even look at the numbers. But I do feel like a sense of pride, and like seeing how like our passions have translated into something that's like other people, like our friends and family, that like do enjoy it. I see a lot of like, I'm very prideful of shit like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's fun to like work on a project that you're excited about with someone that you like genuinely enjoy working with and stuff too, because those like are a pretty rare duo. Like when you think about it in school, like the projects that you have to work on, if you're actually passionate about it, or if like you actually like the people that you're working with and stuff. So that's been super fun for me. And I think just like walking away from this experience, it's just kind of like a fun story to talk about, and also is kind of like a signpost, or like something kind of like a bookmark or something noticeable about like this era in my life. And I can talk about like 2020 and like my summer of 2020, or like quarantine or COVID and everything, and have also like a really good memory of like starting a podcast with Ian and like our other friends.
Like a journal, like a little journal.
For sure.
But going back to advice, I would say like just do it, just start it. Like there's no point worrying about like the little things, like, oh, is our recording equipment good enough? Do we have enough content? I think like once you have the idea of wanting to do it, and then like you have someone to do it with you, or you just want to do it alone, like there's no harm in just like going head first and just plunging right into it.
For sure.
And then see where that goes.
The beauty of like technology and everything. The unadulterated beauty of our age. But kind of like the beauty of our day and age now is that like it's so easy to start a podcast. Like you literally just need a phone and a quiet room and like something to talk about for enough time. It's not like 2006 where you need like a full-on recording studio and like a producer and everything like that. So it's like, if kind of all of the work that it seems like has to go into it is daunting for you, like realize that if it's something that you're excited about, like it's actually a lot more accessible and easy than you might
It's
be
a very
thinking.
flexible medium. There's really nothing set in stone. Like
Yeah.
you create your own rules.
Yeah.
As cheesy as that sounds. The beauty. Create your own rules.
Create your own rules. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about.
One more piece of advice.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Do it for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
don't do it because other people are doing it,
for
or
sure.
do it because like it looks good that you're doing something. Like, I feel like for you to actually want to commit and do a podcast, not like I'm like fucking experienced or anything, but I feel like you just want to do it for the sake of doing it instead of like doing it for something else.
Yeah.
It's good to understand where your intentions are, even if you want to like just dive right into it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I was at a dinner the other night and we were talking about, someone mentioned the Pitcher podcast and like me and Ian working on that together, and like just the upsurgence or like uptick of people who have started podcasts purely for like job applications or like college applications and stuff for a resume booster. And there's nothing like necessarily wrong about doing that. But like just make sure again that it's something that you're like truly passionate about, because in like a college interview or like a job interview, if you bring that up and it's like pretty clear that it's not something that you are like genuinely interested in, that'll shine through like pretty quickly and stuff.
And it's also just a waste of time, like if you're not really passionate about it. It's funny, like I thought about this when you were talking about people talking about the podcast during dinners. Like I was having dinner with my uncle, and then he was like obviously like praising our podcast. He was like, this is such a great thing that we're doing nowadays, like taking advantage of like these different like mediums and stuff. And then it's funny because he like kind of like he would mention your name now.
Oh really?
Say, like I'd be like going somewhere. It's like, oh, did you like meet up with Cody? And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go record with him while like I'm doing this with him as well. So it's like it's funny how like our I guess the effect our podcast has on other people.
No, for sure.
Like you guys know us.
Yeah. A lot of my US friends like ask about you, or like ask about our friend group and stuff now too. Or like I feel like because both of my parents listen to this, sometimes at dinner they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that Ian did this, or like I didn't know that Rachel did this or had that happen to them or something like that. And yeah, we just saw my parents right before recording this, and it was just like kind of a nice wholesome moment and everything. But yeah.
I think we'll end it at that for our little reflection, our 10th episode anniversary.
Thank you to everyone listening.
Thank you to our 4 reviews still.
Oh, speaking of which, we got another review. Actually,
really?
Our 5th review. Thank you so much to Noah, who's one of my friends from college, but she wrote a really nice review on the Apple Podcast. And thank you so much, Noah. And also thank you to Rooksy and Delia and stuff.
And Ian and Cody.
And also Ian and Cody for reviewing our own podcast. But everyone everyone at the college that I go to.
Right, I'll bleep that anyways.
Noah is super cool and she's super nice. You should get to know her. And her entire apartment is really nice too. But yeah, we love you, Noah, and all your friends. You should get them to review us as well.
So just to end it, follow us on Instagram at PitcherPod. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Tying back to what we just said, we're going to be giving shout outs to everyone who rates and reviews us on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and check us out on YouTube, Spotify as well. Also feel free to email and DM us at pitcherpod@gmail.com with thoughts or suggestions. And yet again, thank you for supporting us throughout these 10 episodes. We'll be sure to, punch out some juicy content in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, we'll grab a picture with you guys soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.